everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And it's another Wednesday episode sponsored by Gray Fox Games.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
These episodes are always Wednesday. They will
Correct.
never not be Wednesday anymore
Sure.
because they've already been released on Wednesday. They will not be in the past released on any other day.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, who knows? Been going hard on Wednesdays for 2 years now, so.
2 years of Wednesday.
Yes.
And now Fridays.
Yep.
Let's just start doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Get 3 episodes in
It's the pre-banter shit you just record it and immediately release it.
and immediately release.
And while we're doing the episode, that's when you release it.
Well, no, because eventually we'll start live streaming, and then we might as well just live stream the podcast.
Yeah.
So you can
Straight
get a
up.
live, unedited stream of podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Then on Wednesday, listen to the edited version and be like, oh, they actually sound less
I feel
Insane?
like
I-
insane. Yeah, sure.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I feel that if we started doing that, it'd be like, oh, our Patreon, they start going down.
All the support, it's going away.
It's going
That's
away.
what they're really like.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So Monday live stream unedited, Tuesday live stream game, Wednesday episode, Thursday live stream game, Friday review episode.
I have life.
Not anymore, Jeff.
Mhm. I don't get paid for this.
Yet. That's why you gotta put in so much effort
Yes.
that you can start getting paid for it.
Yes.
Eventually, we could get enough to where you could get
after
minimum
Adrian
wage.
steals, eventually after Adrian steals all the money first,
Yeah.
and then we get the little scraps, and then
Yes.
once we've doubled that,
Yeah.
then
When
we'll get
all the money
half.
gets funneled into the dungeon delvers somehow.
Yes.
And then
They get paid.
they get paid before.
All that wormwood shit for Wes and I isn't going to pay for itself.
Fuck that.
Jesus.
We were just having fun joking around, Adrian, and you made
You
it
got-
real.
Yeah.
The day I start buying wormwood stuff with podcast money, you can throw a big fit. And you can tell everybody so they'll all just cancel their pledges. You'll be like, that's not what this shit's for. No.
I heard the Broncos did poorly.
Yes.
Okay. I just randomly out in the world in something that didn't even relate to board games or sports. I just had seen someone talk about how terrible the Broncos are.
So it's weird because the game was close. The game, they played the undefeated LA Rams, who I think are my current favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think they're easily the most complete
Isn't it,
team.
the Chiefs are doing pretty well too.
Yeah, although I think they lost to the Patriots last night.
For somehow
And the Chiefs have the worst ranked defense in the league.
they were like crushing points.
Yeah. And if there's one thing that I learned from being a Broncos fan back during Super Bowl 48 when we played the Seahawks, having a really good offense with no defense, not a good way to win a championship. Not a good way at all.
Also, I don't think you're going to get Adrian to root for the Chiefs in any way,
Oh
shape,
God,
or form.
no. No, especially not if they're doing well. If they're doing really shitty and like the Chargers are doing well, I might root for the Chiefs over the Chargers, but it's pretty rare. But anyway, Broncos game was close. Which the Rams are undefeated. They're a pretty good team. So that made me happy that we were able to keep it close. But our offense still looked like garbage. Our play calling still looked like garbage. And our defense became the first team in the entire history of the NFL to give up back-to-back 200-yard rushing games to one back. Like in 2 consecutive games, one running back ran over 200 yards on us. And we're supposed to have a good rush defense. And we don't at all.
Congratulations.
Yeah. This was also like the first time since the 70s that we started 2-4. It's one of our worst starts in the history of the Broncos.
So many weird stats.
We're about to have our first ever back-to-back losing season, or not first ever, but like our first since like the 60s. Back-to-back losing seasons. We play on Thursday night this week against the Texans, who are technically ranked worse than us, but it's in Houston, and Thursday night games heavily favor the home team. So I expect to get stomped by the Houston.
Why is that?
Because the away team is doing so much traveling on a short week.
Oh, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
we're traveling. So we played LA here. Then we'll get like a couple days, like 2 days of practice, and then fly to Houston and then play Houston. Whereas Houston will, in theory, get maybe an extra day or 2 practice.
Aha.
My only hope is that, I'm actually hoping that it's like the worst loss in Broncos history. Like, I hope we get like 0-60, just crushed, so that maybe finally somebody will just fire fucking everyone, burn it to the ground, and start again.
Triple-digit loss.
Yeah, kill it with fire at this point. Like, I'm ready to start sacrificing coaching staff at
Mhm.
the feet of Lucifer out by DIA just to get back to some. Like, I don't even want to be like, I don't want a Super Bowl right now. I just want to get back to where, like, I can reasonably expect that we might win on any given Sunday. Like, I'm tired of being like, nah, we're probably going to lose. We could get really lucky and win, but we're probably going to lose. I want to flip that around. I want to be like, we're probably going to win unless we get unlucky and lose.
Welcome to being a Bears fan.
And any other number of teams that are terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. And have been terrible for a long time.
I'm in an incredibly privileged position
You're showing your privilege.
that I'm
Yeah.
throwing a fit about back-to-back losing seasons when some people are like, hey, my team hasn't won a game in 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
I saw a CenturyLink truck with that like weird 1997 Broncos logo on it
it's
today.
hideous.
The one they used for like
4 months or something.
yeah, until they were like, oops.
Yeah, they released it and they were like, yeah, we're going with this. And then there was enough hatred and vitriol. They were like, all right, we're going to just cut the entire bottom half of the image off and we'll go with that. And that's basically what we have.
Keep the head.
Yes, keep that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Flip it around.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah, so that was the Broncos. They were terrible.
It
was also, we had 9,000 no-shows to the game. It was here in Denver. 9,000 ticket holders didn't show up.
Oh,
there
wow.
is one particular reason to that. Moving on to weather, because it snowed and it was cold as fuck.
I mean, it was only like 28 degrees.
Mm.
Broncos fans are used to showing up.
That's
in
true.
cold. Like,
But
9,000 no-shows was more to do with the Broncos being bad than the
And-
weather being
And
bad.
the cold.
Yeah.
A combination of the two.
Yes.
It's like I'm not even going to go there and pay too much to get drunk because they suck, but it's also cold
Yes.
and snowing.
Which, if there's one thing that will get them to fire coaches, it's if people stop showing up to games.
Yeah. That's a big empty stadium there.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So, but yeah, weather was cold and snowy, pretty much all across Colorado on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Some places got up to a foot of snow.
Yes.
That wasn't the mountains, of course, because they probably got, I don't know, 3 to 5 inches in the snowboarding area, at least.
I saw that some resort got like 18 inches in 24 hours.
Well, the ones that I care about.
Yeah, Keystone and Bay.
Yeah.
I went camping. Megan and I went camping with a couple that she had met kayaking, who also rock climb and also play board games and also like beer. So, like 80% of Colorado
hmm
or 80% of Denver Metro,
Yeah.
maybe. But we went and hung out with them. We went camping. We took the dog on her first camping trip. Slash
How did that
climbing
go?
trip. It went pretty well.
How'd
except
you do at climbing?
She did great climbing. She would get a little whimpery when we had her on the leash, and she wanted to go see other dogs because there were like 1,000 other dogs at the crag. We let her off leash a couple times, and she went and played, and then she'd come back when we called her, and was overall doing very good there. She did really good at the campsite, like while we were up and around. She laid down on her bed and was good there. Where the problem started was when we went to bed and we tried to put her in the tent. And she was not having any of that
Did
shit.
not want to be
She's
in
not
the
a tent dog?
No, I did. Well, and I don't know. So she ended up. I don't know if it was tent stress that made her sick, or if she was sick and therefore stressed about the tent.
Uh-oh.
But Megan and I, we all called it a night at like 11 o'clock, and we went and got into the tents. And then Megan and I alternatingly, every hour and a half to 2 hours, had to get up, take her out so she could just violent diarrhea shit out in the
Ugh.
woods.
No, thank you.
And there was no like sleeping around it, because when she would wake up every hour and a half to 2 hours, she would pace back and forth from the 2 doors to the tent, which means she was going right across our chests while whimpering and barking. It was
And she's not a small dog.
no, she's about 60 pounds. So having a 60-pound dog step on your chest when you're asleep, that'll wake you up. So we didn't get any sleep. She didn't get any sleep. That was all quite unpleasant. But every other aspect of the trip, she did well on. Climbing was awesome. We climbed. Saturday was a beautiful day. It was like 70s. Beautiful. And then we went to bed, and we looked at the forecast, and we're like, all right, it's going to snow tomorrow like 2 p.m. So we'll go to bed, we'll get up in the morning, we'll get some breakfast, then we'll do a little brewery tour, and it'll be great. We woke up in the morning at 8 a.m. with about 2.5 inches of snow all around us. It's like, well, fuck. All right, let's pack up in the cold and snow and try and get going. So that was my weekend. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I really enjoy rock climbing. I hadn't gone all summer. It was great to get back out on some real rock.
Nice.
What about you guys? What did you do for your weekends?
Well, I'm going to start with what happened today.
Okay.
I saw a wolf today.
Where?
Some man had a wolf on a leash, walking him down Larimer.
How do you know it was a wolf?
It looked like a wolf. I was looking at pictures of gray wolves, and I was like, "Yep, that sure looks a lot like that dog." But he also works for a wolf conservationist place.
And how do you know that?
Because he was very knowledgeable about it.
Oh, you were
and-
talking to him?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I talked to the guy because he, one of the taproom people was outside and was petting the dog, and then he was like, "It's actually a wolf," and it was a very nice wolf.
okay. See, because you said you saw a guy walking a wolf.
Yes.
And I was like, how'd you know it was a wolf? And you're like, because it looked like a wolf. Not
Well, that's-
because the guy told us it was a wolf.
Well, it
Also
also that, yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of dogs that are very wolf-like.
Yes.
And maybe it's a partial mix, so
Yeah.
it really looks like a wolf, but it's actually more dog. I don't know.
Yeah, he had rescued it from like a illegal wolf breeding facility in Kansas or something. Because I guess wolf pups are like $3,000
Oh, I'm
or
sure,
something
yeah.
insane that you can
Jesus.
sell off to some crazy person.
I'm in the wrong industry.
Yeah. But he was just talking about her, and like she was super nice, and my coworker had gotten like a handful of snow, and the wolf was eating the snow out of her hands, and it was weird. He was talking a lot. He knew a lot about wolves.
Side note, that reminds me, Jester, my dog, fucking loves snow.
Huh.
She's definitely a snow dog.
That's
When we
good.
got back on Sunday, she spent like 5 hours outside playing in the snow. Like, dog, aren't you cold? Come in. But
In other animal sightings, on Sunday, I was leaving Katie's place. It was dark, and it was after all the snow, and I assumed it was just sort of a branch that had fallen from like up high and then hit the ground. Like all the leaves decided to come off at the same time
Yeah.
when the snow came down.
yes.
Sometimes after the snow came down, which then rained leaves on everyone's lawns and cars above the snow. It looked really weird.
We went from like late summer, early fall to no leaves winter in
Yeah.
like the span of 5 hours.
Yes. And I was like, that's weird. It looks like I can't tell what that is. It was dark. And then it moved, and that scared me.
Were you in your car or were you walking?
It was
somewhere?
in the driveway, so I kind of went from the gate to the driveway. It's kind of like from where your front door is to my car, and it would
Okay.
be like on the opposite end of the driveway, like near the sidewalk.
Okay.
And I was just like, what is that? And then it moved, and then I noticed it was very prickly, and it was a porcupine
Oh.
in the driveway.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, it's a porcupine. I don't know what porcupines do when there's a person around them. I assume they don't move. I'm just gonna get in my car and go. But I had informed her because
He
she was
just charges you. And you're
I was like, what? Did porcupines charge? I don't know the porcupine protocol here. Do I tuck and roll or? But she has like a plum tree on the corner of her property that kind of goes over the fence, and it was sitting there eating the plums that had frozen clearly overnight, but it was just eating away on the plums. And I informed her to keep her dog inside because I'm sure her dog would.
Yeah, I've been present. My grandpa's a vet. I've been present when he's pulled quills out of a dog that got a hold of a porcupine. It's not pleasant for anybody. Not for the dog owner who their dog's in a bunch of pain. Not
Yeah.
for the dog that's in a bunch of pain. Not for the vet that has to use a pair of pliers to wrench quills out of a dog's face.
Yeah.
They don't come out easy. They're
No.
barbed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I saw a porcupine.
Cool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And
Porcupines are awesome.
it was dark. I didn't really take a picture of it or anything, but I was like, oh, a porcupine. I'm going to leave.
I'm out. Anything else exciting over the weekend besides wild animals everywhere?
Donkey Kong Country's still a bitch. I broke out the Super Nintendo Classic for the first time, played some Donkey Kong Country. I did not get very far. That game is still brutally, brutally hard, or I'm still clearly worse at it than I used to be. But still a hard game. Fuck that minecart.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Right up its ass. And they get you with, and then there's like gators that come at you.
Oh,
like,
yes. Yeah.
and you have to jump over them. It's always the same pattern, but like you think you're at the end, it has the little arrow for like, hey, the exit's this way. Then they throw one more goddamn gator at you just out of fucking nowhere. Got me. And I was,
It
I
lulls
was like,
you.
God damn it. Bitch gators.
Bitch gators.
You're not
More
wrong.
animal problems. Clearly.
Yeah, clearly this was the animal issue weekend. Gators, porcupines, saw a wolf on a leash.
Zach, what about you? Did your weekend live up in any way, shape, or form to either of ours?
I mean, that depends. Do you consider playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and watching Community? A lively
so
weekend?
clearly, yes.
Yes.
I don't know. Probably.
I've been doing that pretty
Cool.
much. Yeah, I wasn't going to drive on the day where it was all snowy because I'm fine driving in the snow. I don't trust other people. And
Yes.
especially if I have to do it for work. I'm like, I don't trust the people in my car's lives when other people are involved.
Yeah.
So
Well, especially when it's like the first major snow
Exactly.
in Denver.
Yeah.
It's like there's been a lot of people who moved here in the last 8 months who've never seen snow.
yeah.
Roads
Not 8 months, but like
almost
5 months.
completely clear the whole time. By
Oh,
the way.
yeah.
Oh, I
it was
know.
like I went outside. I was like, oh, I wonder what the road conditions are. Oh, completely fine in every shape and form. It was like 60 degrees or so the day before. So
Mhm.
all the concrete, all the pavement was so hot that
Yeah.
snow didn't even touch it.
It was 60 basically, like, because it started snowing that Saturday
Mhm.
night. Saturday it was 60.
Yeah.
So it was
I
8
walked-
hours. It went down 40 degrees and started
I
snowing.
walked into Paul's place with no coat,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, it's snowing outside.
I walked into Paul's place with shorts on. So
And no plan.
and no plan. Yeah. But yeah, basically been doing that. It's been fun. I haven't seen any of the problems that people have had with Odyssey so far. I haven't
Yeah.
noticed any of the bugs.
It was mainly like progression issues or something, right?
I'm playing on hard.
Yeah.
Not just normal, but hard, and it's been fine. There's only been one thing I've had trouble with, and it was a fucking legendary animal that's supposed to be
Is
hard.
it a boar?
Yeah.
The one with the weird eyes?
Yeah, fuck
Okay.
that boar. And I was using a bad weapon for it. And so once
Zach also animal issues.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to use a toothpick to fight a wild boar.
Yes. I went to daggers, I got all up in his face and was just stabbing the fuck out of him.
Stabbing him in the face.
I was trying to use a spear, technically a trident before, and it wasn't quick enough. And then the problem was that the boar is attacking you, which already, like, he charges you and it hits you. It
It's
takes
big.
like a third of your health. But the problem is that he summons boars. And he'll summon like 4 boars at a time that'll charge, and they'll still do like a quarter of your health by charging into you. They're easier to kill, but they still do a shitload of damage, and like they will still hit you if you're in a dodge roll. If you are still in their path, you have to dodge out of their path, not dodge while they're hitting you. So it took a lot of trial and error, and then switching to the dagger of just fuck you, just stabbing, stabbing over and over again. And then I was able to kill it, and I was like, oh, thank God.
I'm imagining
Covered in blood too at the end of it.
I'm right now imagining Ben Stiller
Uh-huh.
in Tropic Thunder when
Yeah.
he kills the panda.
Yes, pretty much.
Just a lot of stabbing
Uh-huh.
and then just blood. And yeah.
But yeah, I haven't felt out leveled on anything. No need to do any of that microtransaction bullshit.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people's complaints have been about.
I mean, I've had times where I've had to fucking book it. But that's because I decided to jump into a fort and try and kill people. But I get seen too early, and then I murder a lot of people. And then that mercenary track is like, "Hey, we're sending 2 mercenaries at you at once." It's like, oh fuck, I need to leave now. So, but yeah, it's been.
There was a good Penny Arcade comic that had to do with Assassin's Creed, and he was trying to he was above someone and was gonna assassinate him, and he was like, but he's just he's too high level, and he's like, is this Assassin's Creed or oh no, I'm scared? And then he's like, fucking fine, whatever. And then he jumps down on the dude and he just lands on the spear.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Because in the classic Assassin's Creed, it doesn't matter who they
Well,
fucking are.
there aren't any levels or anything like that.
Yeah,
so.
you can just I can kill whoever the fuck I want
Mhm.
and just assassinate.
Yep.
And this apparently not so much.
Well, no, it's more of a, like I said, action RPG, and so you actually have levels and shit like that. And so if you're trying to assassinate a level 50 dude when you're 20, it's bad times.
I quote, fighting somebody one level above you is like trying to fight your own dad while you are still a child.
You're not okay. For regular enemies, it's fine, and elites, it's like it's starting to get hard. If you try and fight a mercenary that's higher level than you, you're gonna get fucked over. So yeah, that's basically been my weekend.
Okay.
I know.
How far did you get in Community?
I'm on Modern Warfare.
I don't get that reference.
Have you seen Community?
Yeah.
It's the paintball episode, the first one.
No. Nothing.
Literally, that's what got one of the things that got the Russo brothers, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, was directing that.
Huh.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, and now they fucking directed Infinity Wars.
He's-
So it's interesting to see the first episode of Community. It says at the end, Dan Harmon / Russo brothers.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact.
Yes,
I've never seen Community.
you should fix that.
I've never seen The Office.
You should fix that. I got it here, Zach. Final note. I don't remember if it made the cut last week, but Jeff, you had mentioned watching The Martian, which made Megan and I need to watch The Martian. And so
Martian?
we watched The Martian.
Martian's real good.
Real good.
The Blu-ray is just rolling around in the back of my seat.
Like,
Back of my car.
Like a lot
in
of
a
other
case?
things.
In a
Or-
case.
okay.
In a case. It's been in there for a while.
I was just imagining a rogue disc just rolling around.
It's Blu-ray. It's got the scratch-free
Exactly.
coating on there.
Yeah, yep.
Oh. All right. Well, let's move on from all that. Now that we've spent like 20 minutes talking about not board game shit,
Animals.
animals
Animal-themed.
and camping and video games.
All animal-themed.
Well, this is to make
All
up for
animal-themed.
our hour and 12-minute episode last week. We got to make it extra long this week.
as
yeah.
well as the general banter and just chit-chat that will be this Friday's episode.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is just us rolling up for that. There's going to be a whole bunch of bullshit there.
Warming up.
Jeff, what did you play this week?
I played Between Two Castles
Of Mad King
Ludwig.
Ludwig.
Yeah. I never played Between Two Cities. Never played Mad King in any of its palaces or other.
Mm-hmm.
Played Suburbia, which is like one of them, I
It's
think.
It's like Mad King.
It's
Mad King.
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mhm.
We got this from Stonemeyer. It's a review copy, so we're getting through the plays and stuff of it. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
The game trays insert is great.
As per usual. I remember, like, the first time I remember game trays was the Terraforming Mars
Yes.
thing that you had. Did they do much before
No.
that?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
that really kicked him off.
Yeah. Well, fucking they nailed it. And then it's just all these games now are like, oh yeah, they had game trays in
There's-
here. Yeah.
Like
I'm glad the industry is learning that we want good shit in there.
to start with.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how cooperative it was. I didn't
Yeah.
really know much about the game
Yes.
because I didn't really know Between Two Cities at all.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I was surprised about how cooperative it was. Because you're building, it's at least 3 players,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
3 to 7.
3
so.
to 7, and you're just building castles between each other.
Hence, you're literally between 2 castles that you were
Yes.
building.
Each castle has a throne room that has different like points, but it's really just the shit that's right above it. So there's various tiles that have to go in certain places, or above ground or below ground, or can't be built above other stuff,
Mhm.
or has to be built above something else. But you want to get your both of your castles to do well.
Because it's you score whatever your lowest castle is.
Yeah.
So you don't want to neglect one of them, Jeff or Paul.
Paul, it was really Paul. I was putting my best effort in,
Yeah.
and he was all in on Wes.
Yes. Well, and I was going to say you learned what you were surprised how cooperative and what happens if you don't cooperate.
Yeah. You want both of them to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up on my left having the highest scoring castle, and I think on my right
The lowest.
the lowest
Mhm.
scoring castle.
Yeah.
So
It was like 79
yeah,
and
seven-
then 60.
61.
61.
Because I let Paul do the scoring, and he like missed a point both ways.
Yep.
and then forgot
because
a point.
he didn't try and score it like it actually has
Actually
on the score
pad. He was
yeah.
just like, "Meh, this is what it is," and I was like, "No, just score each room."
Yeah, he's like, no, that's stupid.
Oh,
then it
weird! You
gets
forgot
wrong.
like 3 points in
Yeah.
there.
I was on the other side, so we like technically
We don't really
we
you
were-
draft,
you draft, so
but it's definitely not like, hey, when this card gets like 4 people down,
Mhm.
I'm gonna really make sure he doesn't have that. There's no way you can do that in this game.
no. You're too focused on the shit that you're doing, and it's cooperative. So, there were definitely times because technically we were sharing a partner in Leander.
Mhm.
He was between us, and it was a bunch of Leander. You don't want to put that in Jeff's shitty castle over there. You want to put it in our castle. This is the good castle.
Yeah, but they both need to be good
Yeah,
castles.
Yes.
Ours clearly the best castle.
Yeah. Well, I had the most consistent castles because whereas you were 61 and 79, mine were 68 on one side and 68 on the other side.
Yes.
So I got fourth because in terms of ties, it's then whatever your highest castle is.
Yeah.
And so technically, like Paul got last place versus your 5th place.
Yep.
Because you had a better second castle than he did.
Yes.
Whereas mine were both the same lowest. So I brought both Manny and Leander down to my level.
Crushed it.
Yeah. But I was surprised how like different all the castles looked.
Yeah, very much so.
I was a little concerned going in because
there's 127 tiles.
yes,
Not all of them are different, but
no. I mean they have different names,
there's
but
21 of each type.
and there's different things on there. But
Yeah.
so one of the best parts of the castles in the original castle of Mad King Ludwig is that the castle that you're making, like the pieces are very weirdly shaped, and so you make a really interesting looking castle, whereas this is just one by
Squares.
one squares.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I feel like I'm going to lose that interesting look, but because it's just a lot more uniform, each of the building blocks.
Yeah, because I didn't get to play, but I walked by. I was playing something else when you guys started, and I finished up to see where you were, to see if you wanted to play something else, and you were like right in the starting that game.
Yeah.
That was something that struck me right away. Is like with Mad King in the name, I was expecting more Mad King-esque pieces, and I saw they were just like square pieces, and it was like,
But like you and Leander, your castle was like fucking tall as hell.
Yeah.
That had all like,
because we had like a basement level that got more for all like the orange little like blacksmith ones or utility or whatever they were.
So you had 2 giant towers.
We just wanted giant towers of utility and then top it off with a tower.
Yeah. Whereas like me and Manny's, we basically built a pyramid that had no bottom at all.
Yeah.
Like it was just no downstairs at all. Whereas Manny and Wes's, they had like the first floor and maybe one thing on top, and then it was just corridors and downstairs the entire way. And it was like
heavy basement.
Yeah, it was a heavy basement. So I thought I enjoyed it. It went a lot quicker than I was expecting to.
Which is nice.
Yes.
Especially for what, 5-6 people
Exactly.
we play with?
Yeah.
I think someone else wanted to get in. We were like, fuck off.
Yes, no, like we're at 6.
When no one has played this game,
Yeah.
we don't need more.
But no, I think it's
because you're not really playing with, you're not waiting on 7 people. You're waiting on the drafting of tiles. That's really the only waiting there is.
And when people were discussing strategy with people, it's like, oh, we should be looking for this. Once again, this is like Paul was like, one of his main criticisms was like, you have to wait on all these other people. That's also because he wasn't really strategizing with you. He was just doing some of it with Wes, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So I feel if you don't have that, like if you aren't talking it out with your neighbors as much as you can, or as much as other people, then you can definitely have a like, oh, I'm just waiting for these guys to to finish.
It's not just like draft, place tile. It's you're like, hey, what do we need? What do we want? Do we need these buildings? We need this? Do we need that? Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Well,
hot first impressions.
Yes.
Yeah. More to come.
But
like Jeff said, it was a review copy, so
Yeah.
we will be reviewing it in a few weeks.
But but just to clarify, it's between 2 cities, but with more complicated scoring.
We will inevitably play between 2 cities,
And then I'll
you have Mad King.
Yes. Which Mike Jones has between 2 cities.
Cool.
So we can play. Yeah. We'll be playing both of those. Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones. Michael Jones. Sorry. Does that help? But yeah, before we review them, we'll be playing both of those so we can actually compare.
Yes.
So
compare, contrast all their core original
yes
stuff.
Yes.
Right on. Zach, what about you? What else did you play?
Well, let's see. I played a quick dexterity game called Elk Fest. It's one of Paul's bullshit ones. Basically you have these stone, like you have this, I don't know, giant stone, 2 giant stones that your little elk moose guys are
10 components total.
Yes. And he paid $30 for it.
Yes.
It was out of print though. But you have like these giant stones that your little moose guys are standing on, and then you each have 3 stones that you're flicking around to try and get your elk or moose.
Definitely looks like a moose.
It looks like a moose, but it's called Elk Fest. I think there's a reason why. So I'm just going to say moose because that's what it looks like.
Yes. It's a moose on the cover.
Yes. But you're basically trying to walk across these stones to get to the other person's giant stone before they get to yours.
Yeah, I guess you're supposed to be walking across a river or something like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was pretty fun. It's, like you said, light on components, but that means that it's like you need to have a table that's actually like smooth and not bumpy and shit like that because it's a dexterity game. But it was pretty fun. And then it's like if you ever knock your moose or someone else's moose on the table, it's a wet moose because they fell in the water, and so your opponent gets 3 moves instead of normal 2, and so you're just trying to set it up to where it's obviously you're trying to favor yourself over your opponent.
Because you can flick those stones away from them and towards you.
Yeah.
And you always have to, like, even if you have to turn around, you have to like flip it around, let go, and then touch it again, and then move it, and then let go.
Well, and there's a lot of times you'll flick that stone and it looks like it's just out of reach, but you're like, I don't know if it'll make it or not.
Yeah.
And then, but even if you accidentally touch the table when you're holding it, that still counts.
Wet moose.
Yeah, exactly. So I played that, and then
I got played a bunch.
Yes.
And fun little light dexterity.
Yeah. And then Jeff and I also played on Saturday. We played Kingmaker.
Yes. Well, not just us.
Well, not just us, but out of this table, us.
Yes.
There were 5 of us in total. This is a The copy we played was from 1974.
I thought it was 77, but
The copyright on his thing was from 1974.
okay, that's probably right.
Yeah. Okay. This is Avalon Hill's strategic game about the War of the Roses in the 15th century. Using 23 different royal noble tile things. What were they called?
Nobles?
Nobles, yeah. What you're trying to do is you aren't even technically controlling. It's like your faction, and then you're sort of getting these nobles, but those nobles can die, and you can just get other nobles and stuff like that. But
They just go into the discard.
yeah, exactly.
Their son comes and
Yeah,
rules.
whatever. But what you're trying to do is there are 7 people out on the board who are trying
It's the War of the Roses.
Yes.
It's the Lancasters
versus
and
the Yorks.
the Yorks. Yep.
Which is what
Game of Thrones
inspired
yes.
Game of Thrones.
Yes. And so out of these 7 people who all can technically be the king, or obviously succession, and then there's the 2 different families, but
Yeah.
you want to have one of them left and have them be the king, crowned and ordained or whatever. And it's whoever has control of that king, that person wins. And so I don't know. Basically, you're just going around. You're trying to
Big map of England.
Big map
Not-
map of England.
Not big,
No.
but definitely England.
Well, it's definitely England. Well, honestly, I'd say it'd be pretty big for trying to move across, just because of all
Yeah.
the little squares.
Yes. It's everything but Scotland
Yes.
for the mainland or main island.
Yeah. But I would say the main gimmick of this game is how the combat works, because what happens is you'll gain, an amount of forces. So say you have 400 and you decide to attack someone that has 300. It has a chart on the back that basically says, here's what the weaker force is. So you get a 300, and then you go to how much the bigger force has, 400, and then it gives you an odds amount. So 3 to 2, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 out of 5 to 4, and then the event deck. It has a card that you flip at the beginning of each round that tells you an event that happens, but on the bottom side it has a victory for fighting, what odds you need to hit or lower. So if you got the 3 to 2, you would need to either get 3 to 2 or the 5 to 4 or majority. But if you got the 3 to 1, you wouldn't win that victory. But
Basically, just nothing happens.
yeah, it's indecisive. But there are listed nobles on there that if they were in the battle, they're killed no matter what side they're on.
So you could possibly be fighting a bigger force, and that noble dies, and that noble was in control of all those forces, and now they're just all gone.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's basically like you won.
Yeah.
We never had a battle win
No.
during the game.
No.
We only had nobles die off due to those cards.
We did have some indecisives, and then we had sieges that were won. But
the siege doesn't really go off combat tables. It sort of just auto wins
Yeah.
after the next turn.
exactly, yeah. It felt like a 70s game.
It felt old.
Adrian, you would have loved this.
I'm waiting to find out if this is a sarcastic
it's
love.
100%
Okay.
sarcastic.
So I figured.
I'd pretty much at the end of the game, I'm going to say Jeff overall had maybe 6 nobles throughout the entire game.
3 at most, I think.
I'm not at the same time. I'm talking about overall.
Overall, maybe 4 overall.
4
total.
to 5.
Period.
Yeah, Wes maybe 5 to 6 for him.
Yeah, that many?
I would say somewhere around there. Andrew, he would have maybe 6 to 7 overall. I had to at any given time I had to have 6 or 7 on me.
Just in front of him at all times.
Yes, and then same with Paul. And at the very beginning of the game, and a variant you can use as alliances, and Paul and I were both like, hey, well, what it was is that Wes and Jeff were like, hey, you want to team up? And then they're like, okay. And then me and Paul looked at each other like, hey, you want to team up? And we're like, yeah. And we just had, because it was all due to card draw, we just kept getting all of these nobles. And so we had such a, even when Andrew teamed up with them, we still had a vastly superior force.
Yeah, the whole game.
The whole game.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah, the heavy card draw on the nobles will be the nobles are what gets you military, and because they come with it, and you can just stack them into a big Civ 4 style stack of doom and be like, I will crush whatever I touch, and it can just move 5, and it sucks.
Now, one nice thing about that it had to try and prevent that is during those events at the beginning of each person's turn was like, hey, there's a peasant revolt. These people need to go to these different areas. And usually it's strong, the Marshal of England, the
because there's titles you can give out to
Yeah.
everyone.
You can give out titles and offices. But if it's hey, the marshal or the chancellor of the Lancaster needs to go take care of this shit. And so like if they're in that stack of doom, they go to wherever it is, and so it's harder to just
The entire
stack
stack of Doom moves?
No, just that person.
So
Unless-
they just get yanked out of the stack
Yes,
of Doom.
exactly. And so the stack will slowly get lower.
So it's a stack of slightly less Doom.
Yes.
Unless it's the king, and
Unless-
the king can drag whoever he wants with him,
Mm-hmm.
or whoever controls the king.
Yeah.
And at least 3 times during this game, where we would move to like the opposite end of the island, the king would be like, "Oh, you need to go to the north side," and this whole stack would just come all the way to the north side for free,
Yeah.
just because of card draw.
Yeah.
And then we'd be on the south side, where we'd go to Calais, and we had to murder the last York heir because we had the queen. And no, we didn't. We got the last York heir and
Mhm.
killed the queen.
Yes.
And then a new event moved the king all the way to the south side
Mhm.
for free.
Yep.
And then we had a chance where like the king was in London, we could siege, and the marshal was at the north, and then the event was bring him all the way to the city right next to London for free,
Yeah.
just off random event cards.
Oh yeah.
You would have hated that.
Yes, you would have.
I also hated it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we enjoyed it enough just because it was just friends, like we were hanging,
Yes.
But game itself, it felt very dated. I think we would be the reason we played this is because this was for Andrew's birthday. He wanted to play this old game that he had,
The hater.
Yes.
and so we told
He's
him
been wanting to play it for a while.
yes,
He's had it since like high school and never played it or
Mhm.
something.
and we told him we would play it again in like a few months.
Yeah.
because there are like 20 pages of house rules that some people have 17 pages of house rules that people have come up with to make the game better.
Like
Real-
modernize it or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to fix shit that's broken.
Fix.
Yeah.
It seemed like almost everything I read in there was like, this would be better, this would be better, this
Yeah.
would be better.
So like trying to incorporate some of that stuff would make it easier, I think.
Gotcha.
Last thing we played was after that, we were like, we should cleanse our palate and play something better. And I had brought one of the exit games, and it was the Sunken Treasure one. It's fine you didn't play this one. This was by far the easiest one that we've done. It was a beginner level. Well, it was a 2 out of 5 difficulty. Not only was it the easiest one that we've played, it is linear.
Like the little book you get in the exit, you start at the front page and then you kind of flip pages as you unlock things.
As in, like you flip the first page and it's like, hey, don't go to the next page until you finish this puzzle, or until you crack the code. And once you do that, you flip, and it sort of tells its story.
So not like the other ones where you're trying to solve something 5 pages in that you don't have the stuff for
Exactly.
yet.
Yeah. No, it's like pretty much until the end.
Page 1, page 2.
Yeah, it was like one puzzle at a time until at the end. It was like, here's 3 ones in the same spot, but you still know which order you're supposed to do. We beat it in 46 minutes,
Yeah.
and we had to use one clue because we were overthinking something.
Very much. Way overthinking.
Yes,
We had it almost immediately.
yes, but then we were like, no, let's pull out Google and be like, what is this? And then and then we're like, oh, we're dumb.
I just put in what I
Yeah.
thought it was, and I was like, hey guys, this is right.
Yes.
That was the only one we ever had any
Yeah.
even remote trouble on.
Mhm. And especially we played it with 5 people. With the linear nature of that one did not help it at all because you couldn't really split up the work.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I just
Okay.
controlled the wheel the whole time.
Yeah, well, and I gave that to Jeff, and I gave even though I had the answer cards, anytime I got one that was like had text on it, I would give it to Wes to read, to be like, here, Wes, you can do something.
Yeah.
Like I was just trying to hand out work to people to be like, I don't want, because we basically how we were sitting was we were sitting 2 on the side of a table, and then one person was on the other, like a corner of it, and so the 3 people here, like all the work tended to shift that way, and I was like, oh god, Wes and fucking Jeff, especially Jeff, was like really over here,
Yeah.
just sort of sitting there, and I was like, oh, this sucks. Yeah,
Otherwise, this was from the second wave or the third wave.
third wave, I think. I would say just like Abandoned Cabin, this would be a great intro one.
That would be a fantastic intro.
Oh yeah,
Do you think it would cause a problem if somebody used this one as an intro one and they got used to it being so linear, and then they went to one of the ones that's all of a sudden
No.
no,
non-linear?
I would say
No.
no.
They'd be like, "Oh, we're expecting it to be linear. We're trying to solve the first puzzle on the first page. We don't know that we can
It has-
go 5 pages in."
It had no, because this one had like clear blocks where the other ones are pretty obvious. You can just kind of read.
I mean,
whatever.
like I would view it in the same way as like this felt like one on like training wheels.
yeah,
Training wheels of here's one puzzle, and then once you get used to those, then you can be like, all right, here's a thing of puzzles. try and figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Definitely used a lot of interesting mechanics that I liked from the previous ones.
yes, it did have one or two things that I thought were pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and as usual, it was like, you clever sons of bitches.
Yeah. Yes.
Right on.
Yeah.
I also played a couple new to me games this week. I played Team Up, which is a palette stacking game. Not that you would even remotely know that from the name. I had to, trying to remember the name for the episode, I had to Google like palette stacking game, and then I saw a picture. I was like, oh yeah, Team Up, because I just could not connect the name to the game at all. But essentially, it's a team game where you are trying to place blocks onto a palette to form ideally a 6x4x5 rectangle
Okay.
or polygon, whatever thing.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is there's a deck of cards, 36 cards, and the cubes are divided into 3 shapes and have 3 colors on them. Or not the cubes, but the wooden blocks are divided into 3 shapes and have 3 different colors on them. And so each color has 6 cards in the deck. Each shape has 6 cards in the deck for 36 total. And so you, on your turn, you flip over a card. And then once you flip that card over, you place a block that matches whatever is showing on that card. So like if it's the shape, you place that shape regardless of what 3 colors it is. If you draw the color, you place one of the 3 shapes in that color. And you just take turns doing that. Each person on their turn draws a card and places a block. And I don't know, like I didn't read the actual rules. Somebody was teaching me the game. So I don't know if the rules have any restrictions on how much you can communicate. We were totally playing it just wide open. We're like, they'd flip something and be like, oh, you should probably do this because we want to like make things work to flip here and be able to put this block here. And, don't forget, we're trying to build it only 5 high. So this block that's 4 tall needs to be placed somewhere in those first 2 rows. Otherwise, it'll be too tall and we won't get the perfect shape. But
you want to be square, right?
No. A rectangle.
Rectangular.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rectangle, like whatever a rectangle is to a square, that to a cube.
Okay.
But
a rectangular cube.
Yes, I think that is what it is.
No, because it's 6x5x4, so no side of it is a square.
Well, a cube doesn't have to be a square.
Yeah. Yes, a cube has to be a square.
Mhm.
Well, what
cube
am I
is a
thinking of?
three-dimensional
Rectangular prism. I don't remember. Geometry. Freshman high school.
Anyway, but you play until you mutually agree to stop, at which point you score 5 points for every completed layer, 6x4 of the 5 possible layers. So you get a maximum of 25 points. And then you subtract 1 point for every block that does not get placed on the palette and for every card that you drew that you couldn't place a block for. So towards the end of the game, you might draw a card for a block that you either don't have any more of or that you can't legally place, in which case you just turn that card face down and it's going to count as a point against you at the end of the game. So you can reach a point at the end of the game where it's like, well, we could try to go for 5 more points, but the odds are that we're going to get 6 negative points between flipping cards that won't play, things like that. So you kind of decide when you want to stop. Our first game, we scored 8. Our second game, we scored 18. So we did dramatically better in our second game. But yeah, it was interesting. Fun enough little spatial puzzle.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know some of the names. You can call it it's a right rectangular prism, a rectangular cuboid, or a rectangular parallipid, or a box, or a hyper rectangle.
Hyper rectangle.
Yeah,
that's
Wait,
my
you're,
favorite.
You're kidding. There's not like a logical singular name for this fucking shape.
No,
It's
3 ornithop as well. Like I don't. Yeah,
hyper triangle.
hyper rectangle.
Hyper rectangle.
I mean I googled rectangle in 3D, and this is what Wikipedia says.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like a hyper rectangle.
Yeah.
We're just burning all these episode names.
Yeah, I know. No.
Wow, that's. I mean, I guess I am happy that I feel better that it was a weird name, so it wasn't like I was forgetting something simple like cube
Mhm.
or sphere
Or pyramid.
or pyramid or any of these other 3D shapes that actually have a fucking name. So yeah,
Cuboid.
rectangular prism, according to
That's what I
some
said.
other thing. Yeah. Well, because you gave a big list.
Yes. Rectangular prism, rectangular cuboid, or rectangular paralipid.
Shapes.
Also, a pyramid can have any arbitrary polygon as the base, as long as the other sides are triangles. So
Oh,
you
that
could
makes
have a
sense, yeah.
5-sided pyramid or a 3-sided pyramid.
Technically, a regular pyramid is a 4-sided pyramid because it has a square in the bottom.
Well, the Egyptian pyramids.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, enough geometry. The other new game
Geometry
I played,
class complete.
Yes. The other game I played was Gentlemen Thieves, which is an interesting social deduction set collection kind of game. Yeah, like it definitely social deduction and like hidden roll, but I don't really know how to describe the rest of it. Essentially, everybody at the start of the game gets a hidden roll, designated by just you get a pile that has a character on the back that's really just a color. So you're one of 5 colors, and then there's discs for each of the 5 colors, and the player board, which is actually part of the box. Like the box is one of those magnetic ones that unfolds and then becomes the player board. There are 2 teams, a team of 2 and a team of 3, and the 5 colors just randomly get assigned to the 2 teams. Or well, no, you randomly pick a first player, and then they randomly essentially split the 5 colors up into the 2 teams, one of 2, one of 3. Then there's a bunch of other little disc tokens that have one of 5 different burglary tools on them. So like a stethoscope, a burglar mask, gloves, a grappling hook, and I don't know, I can't remember what the other one is a lamp, a lantern. And then so the tokens, there's those 5 symbols, and then those are also in a variety of colors that match those 5 player colors. And then there's a grid of 6 locations. Each location gets 2 tokens to start with, and then you get 3 tokens placed face up in a common area. And on your turn, you can either take a face down token from the supply or one of the 3 face up tokens, look at them, and then place them face up at one of those locations. And what you're trying to do is assemble one each of all 5 different item types at a location, at which point that location has a heist, and you then look at the 2 teams, and whichever team has the most tokens there, they are the ones who pulled off the heist. So then all the tokens get flipped upside down. On the back of them is treasure tokens, and the treasure gets divided evenly between the team players. So if it's the team of 2, they split it in half. If it's the team of 3, you split it into thirds. And then those go over onto on the board, there's a section for each player color, and they just stack up. So you know at any given time that like green player is winning, but you don't know who green player necessarily is. And once at any time there's a heist, then the next person in turn order from whoever started a round, they get to reshuffle the teams, and then you play again from there. And you keep playing like that until somewhere in the bottom, like 10 tokens or something like that, there's a constable disc. And when that comes out, the game immediately just ends. So you're trying to figure out, based on where people are playing, what color tokens and how they're making the teams. You're trying to kind of figure out who everybody is, so that then you know who to kind of place on your team and what to expect from each person. And yeah, I don't know. The social deduction is not a huge part. Like you can play just fine if you never figure out who anybody is. Just because you know what each color's like points are. So like if you're winning, you probably want to make a team with you and like the 2 losers on the 3, because the 3 team is more likely to score, but then it's getting split into smaller denominations. But if you're already winning, you pick the 2 lowest and then you share it with them. Whereas if you're trying to maybe make a play to get up there, like if you're in second, maybe you want to be on the 2-player team with one of the lower scores so that you can get a bigger share to hopefully pass first player. So it's not really important to figure out who everybody is, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty simple to actually play. That description might not make it super clear, but I had fun with it. I was actually able to figure out who everybody was. Not, again, that I think it really mattered. I feel like you could almost play it completely face up and it would work. Probably not quite. Like there is a little bit of like, well, I'm putting this token over in this pile, and you don't know whether I'm doing that because I'm trying to build it up for my team, or whether I'm just moving a token and piling it, as junk somewhere else, or if I'm trying to trigger a different team to win because the leader isn't on that. I don't know. But it was fun. I don't know if it'd stand up over a whole bunch of plays, but I enjoyed it well enough.
It's from Charles Chevalier, the guy that designed The Abyss and Kanagawa.
Oh, okay.
Kanagawa, also fantastic. Yeah, those are the new games I played. Didn't really get to play anything over the weekend. Megan played Climbers with our new California board game and climbing and kayaking friends. But I was making a run into town for firewood, so I didn't get to participate. But yeah.
One last thing that we also did play was the new Imperial Assault campaign began.
Oh shit, that's right.
Jabba's Realm. There's not much to say about it. It's more Imperial Assault. Some new tiles, some new classes. We only went through like 2 missions of it, the first mission and 1 side mission.
I'm enjoying my class so far.
Yeah, we're the first campaign was with all the starter basic dudes, and now we've got some more interesting options with the many classes that Ant now has access to due to owning literally everything at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Besides models, which at some point will just be exorbitantly expensive. I think they run like $12 to $18 each.
It's a little out of control.
Just to use a mini instead of the little token, which is nice for some people, but that's also like $300+ worth of minis still to buy for that game, which is
not everyone can do that.
No,
not everyone's Ant.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I was really when I first saw my character, it sounded sort of weak just because you got like anytime I did a combat, I got a style token and I can use that token to add extra damage to it. But I didn't realize like it took a little while to get to rev her up, but once you started getting her going, she could hit like a powerhouse.
Because she's basically the $1 million woman.
Yes.
Bionic legs, bionic arms.
Yes, exactly. Like one of her abilities is at the beginning of each of her activation, I test strength, and then I get to just move however many spaces.
It's like a green and yellow.
Green and yellow, and so I can move up to 3 for free before I activate.
Yeah.
Or before I get to do any of my actions, and so it has helped a lot.
It's just where you're jumping through the air.
Exactly, and then I get 2 style tokens, and then I get good on my hit, and I'm just like, and that's a fucking 6 or 7 damage that I get to just keep on rolling. It's been nice so far.
Yeah, my guy hates stormtroopers. He can do like a melee attack and then shoot him, and then shoot something else.
The melee attack is him hitting him with the gun.
The gun, yes. Because actually, I saved up XP between the first 2 missions. Now I have a vibro bayonet that gives it even more damage. Paul has like the Mon Calamari sniper who can put like recon tokens on things and just gives you like plus passive damage against anyone that hits it.
Well, and he has like a passive accuracy, so pretty much anything within 6 is an auto hit.
Yeah.
Except for dodges.
Yeah. What's Julie? Julie is
the Wookiee that can just destroy everything.
The Wookiee with the grenade launcher. Yeah. She just gets to put like a free like rubble token down. It costs difficult terrain and does 1 damage automatically to everything around it, just for stress. So if anything's like 1 damage away, it's just like, all right, Julie, finish it off.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to roll, you don't have to attack. It's just boom, free. You just have to take stress, endurance stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up what we've been playing, which lets us move on potentially, maybe, to a Bloody Minute. Jeff?
Nope.
No Blood Bowl?
No. Played pretty early, I think, in the last round. So I think the new round just started yesterday.
Okay.
So
haven't scheduled yet?
No.
Who are you playing?
Playing Phil,
okay.
the 3-time champion with his new Nurgle team. Also, his new Nurgle team had no skills. He played 1 match. His last match got a plus strength on his Nurgle warrior and got a doubles on his Pestigore. And then he'll be able to afford a new Pestigore for mine. So he will be real fucky to play against. At least I have block.
There you go.
Yeah. And I have 2 missed next game skinks, so that'll be great.
Yeah. Just get some journeyman ones.
I'll just be running past him.
Right.
Just fucking score. Hopefully. Still waiting on that break tackle for a Saurus. Then I'll be able to have a Saurus running with the skinks.
Nice.
Because I can dodge away on a 5 as an Edge 5.
Right.
Which will be nice. Yeah. No Bloody Minute. Just prepping for the Nurgle nightmare.
Good luck.
Fucking perfect. God.
Yeah. I swear to God, if he somehow wins.
He's so slow that I don't think.
Okay.
I've got the strength advantage.
Well, I don't mean against you. I just mean...
Oh, just champion. Like, boom, all the way. No, Ant is. Ant's team is getting crazy stat ups.
What does he have?
He is playing Underworld, which is a
Oh, yeah.
really like low tier team, but he's getting plus move where he needs it, and he's doing well. He's got 2+ edge throwers
Gotcha.
now. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not looking forward to playing against him
I'm sure.
because all my skinks will be dead. Is what's gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Or no Blood Bowl. The Bloody Minute still took, I think, over a minute.
So is it time to move on to news and Kickstarter, Adrian?
Well, before we move on to news and Kickstarter, it's time to introduce, for the first time in a long time, a new Mile High Game Guys segment. A while back, I think it was the Put to the Question episode 2, somebody asked, like, are you ever going to revisit any of the games you used to play? And this is something I'd wanted to get to for, eventually, like I had thoughts that we'd start this at our year and then at our 2-year. And we almost did start it at the 2-year anniversary.
We officially announced that we were
Gonna
officially
start doing it.
We unofficially announced that in the Put to the Question 2, which was like episode 95, because we're like, well, that's what we were planning on doing, so we'll talk
Yes,
about
Just
it then.
do it.
Yeah.
And then we looked at our initial episodes that we had done way back in the day.
Mhm.
And if you go back and you listen to our first like episodes, we like our first 10 episodes, we didn't really do reviews.
No, the only one we had a special review in that first one, but that was like
That was episode 5. We reviewed
Mhm.
Star Wars Rebellion.
yes.
It wasn't until episode 12
Mhm.
that we did our first like review of Captain Sonar.
Yes.
And so we've just been waiting until we had a few. We're going to do this segment every few episodes. It's not going to be every Wednesday,
Mhm.
but maybe every 4 or 5. So roughly once a month-ish. We will look back at some of the games we reviewed around that time 2 years ago and talk about whether we're still playing them,
Mhm.
how our thoughts have changed on them as our, opinions on games have evolved and things like that. So,
Expansions, that sort of stuff.
yeah. So we've got 5
What's-
games.
What's the segment called? Lookback Machine?
Wayback Machine?
No, copyrighted probably.
Copyrighted,
Yeah. Lookback Machine.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Look back.
The look back machine.
Until
Look back
something comes along better that's more natural.
Just like our name.
Mhm.
well, because we had, what was it that we just had a segment where we'd done it. Like Put to the Question didn't come about until like the second question episode.
I don't think our
There was something else that like we used to call We Do This, like discussions or something that we turned to like rambles. Like our names are evolving always. So
Yes.
this will change, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for now, so we've got 5 games lined up here that we're going to just real briefly go over and touch on what we think about them at this point in time. Those 5 games are going to be Star Wars Rebellion, Captain Sonar, Mansions of Madness, Scythe,
2nd edition.
and the Networks. Yes, Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. Scythe and the Networks. So let's start off with the Rebellion.
July 31st, 2016.
Mhm.
Date of this episode.
Was when we did Star Wars Rebellion. I am pretty certain I have not played Rebellion in the last 2 years.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong there, but I definitely know at least every couple months, both Jeff and I are like, man, we should play Star Wars Rebellion
Yeah.
again.
And even like, yeah, because I'm even similar. Like, it's like, man, I kind of want to play Rebellion, and then I just never do.
No, what it's
I've been at least 2 Gen Cons with it in my hands.
and then you're like,
From the
yeah.
cool stuff booth, be like, oh, I could just buy it. It's like $65. That's a good price.
Mhm.
I could get the aftermarket inserts
Yep.
for it.
Well, when we were playing after we were playing Kingmaker, Jeff, Wes, and I were all talking. We were like, man, we all want to play this. We should do the 2 Imperial and 1 Rebel. And we're like, yeah. And nothing came out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it had an expansion come out since.
Yes, it did. The Rogue One expansion or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Hearts, I don't know.
I want to say we had chit-chatted about it recently. I don't remember if it was on the
we
podcast
talked
or...
about it on the show when the expansion came out. It was
Yeah.
like we
Well,
covered it in our
yes.
news section.
But recently we were
Mhm.
talking
Oh.
about wanting to play the expansion, but the expansion is also like you play with the expansion so you can use the new combat stuff, but you also have to do the Rogue One stuff.
The standalone stuff,
You
yeah.
can't pull in the stuff you want into the base game.
Right. It's you play one or the other.
Yeah.
Which can be disappointing.
Yeah, it turned me off a little bit of wanting to get that to the table as fast as possible. I know Ant really wants to play real bad, especially because he has the expansion and no one has played.
Yeah.
In a while.
Yes.
So yeah, Rebellion, we all still want to play it. We all still have good opinions and thoughts about it,
Mhm.
but it has not made it back to the table. I think a lot of that just has to do with, we're pushing review. Like,
Yes.
it's not its
always-
fault. It's that we got to do the next thing.
It's not you, it's me.
Yes.
Yeah. Next, Captain Sonar.
We've played a little bit of it.
I've definitely played it since the review, which
We played it-
was September 21st.
Yes,
Was when we reviewed it.
2016.
Yes,
All these
2016.
are 2016.
All these are 2 years or more.
Yeah.
I think we played it on the road to Gen Con year before last.
That was.
When we stopped in like that St. Louis house on the way out.
Wasn't that just Sonar?
Was it?
No,
I think it was regular.
I think it was regular.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think Sonar came out later.
Way later.
We have played Sonar.
I have not played Sonar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I own Sonar.
Sonar being the Target exclusive,
For
slightly more simplified.
player
Yeah, the more
version.
simplistic version. Yeah.
Yeah, I've played it a few times since. I've actually had some good experiences playing turn based with it. Since then, because I think when we reviewed it, we were pretty like, why would you ever play turn based? But I've actually had some good experiences playing turn based. It can lead to some it allows you to focus more, especially in like a loud environment where you're already gonna be having issues missing information. It turns it into a more strategic game than a tactical game, which can be kind of cool.
I played it a couple times in June at this year's Hootenanny when we had like 24 dudes in a house. Someone had brought Captain Sonar. And so we had many rounds, like 4 or 5 rounds over 3 days of Captain Sonar. And I was able to bring some of my Captain Sonar knowledge into the game of like, hey, it's really confusing when you don't say head north, head south. Just say head when you actually want to do a direction. Because when you're chit-chatting with the engineer next to you, it's like, oh, do we go south? Do we go north? Is like, and the navigation person's like, hey, are you actually giving directions or are you just talking other directions?
Yeah. I know for me, I guess the last Gen Con, so over a year ago, was the last time that I played it.
Yeah.
And like I was already basically got to the point where like there was only one of the 4 roles that even interested me. And even that, I started growing tired of it.
I don't think we've ever played on anything but the basic map either. We've never done any of the, like, the
I
scenarios.
forgot there's a bunch of other.
I've done. I feel like I did 1 or 2 of them, but
like the ice one.
yeah. But
I forgot those
yeah.
even existed.
I think there's some new map expansions or
Well,
something coming.
there is at least one expansion for it already out. I
Okay.
think.
Just more maps, basically.
I can see what you're saying, Zach, because I'm in a similar boat. Like, I would only ever want to be either the captain or the
navigator.
The navigator.
Radio operator.
Radio
Yes,
operator,
yeah.
where you're listening into the other team.
Yeah.
The other two just they seem boring. They're where you throw somebody who doesn't know how to play and just hope they don't fuck it up too bad.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I'm fine if I don't play it again.
Yeah.
So
I think it will continue to get play, albeit very, very sparsely.
yeah.
Especially like with game nights, because it does work for game. It's an 8-player game.
Yeah, it works for gaming, but I think it's one of the ones like, hey, we haven't played this in a while. Let's do this.
Or somebody new will bring it. Like, well, we won't have played it in like
Yes.
2 years. Somebody new to the group will be like, oh, hey, I have this game. We'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, I haven't played that.
Well,
in
it's
2
like when we
years.
played
Why
the
not?"
shit out of Coup, and then we took a break for a while, and then it was like,
Yeah.
oh, we haven't played Coup in a while, and it sort of would resurface every now and then. So
Yeah.
I feel it was close the same on that. So
We'll just have to wait till Sabotage comes out, and that will replace Captain Sonar.
there you go.
For sure. Next, Mansions of Madness, specifically 2nd edition.
This is another one that I'm always just like, guy, I want to play this again.
This goes so far as to, for that feeling, I'd bought in a while back I bought somebody's.
No, you boughten. That's what you said.
I bought somebody's.
I'm editing it to where you just say boughten, no matter what.
I purchased somebody's 1st edition copy.
I did, and then you gave me money. I was the middleman in this
Well,
transaction.
yeah, but like they advertised it online. I was like, yes, I want that. Hey, Jeff, go pick that up for me. I'll give you money later.
That's when I went and got War of the Ring and Chaos in the Old World.
Yeah. So I picked that up off of them, and they're like, oh yeah, I even have the conversion kit. I'll just throw in. And I was like, sweet. And then I packed it all away because at the time I remembered that the conversion kit is so you can take your 1st edition stuff and use it with 2nd edition. I then forgot about that because that was like over a year ago.
Yes, it was.
So 2 weeks ago, like not this weekend, but I think the weekend prior, Megan and I were sitting around. It's getting October, Halloween, spooky time of year. And we were like, what should we do? And I was like, let's play Mansions of Madness. Let's do some Mansions of Madness. She's like, can we do that with 2 players? I was like, yeah, we'll get the app. It'll be great. And I got it all out, and I started putting it together, and I was like, wait, shit.
You own first edition.
I own first edition with a conversion kit, but no second edition to convert first edition into. So it's still sitting out on the coffee table because I didn't even feel like going and putting it back on the shelf.
You can always play first edition. 1v1.
I don't think it has everything to play first edition.
Really?
I don't know. It might. I didn't. It's
But
packaged,
then also
it's packaged weird, and
then,
like so I'd have to really sort everything out.
Yeah.
And I don't think first edition would work well 1v1.
I mean, it could, but I feel at least
Megan
for me, after playing second edition, going back to first, I'd be like,
I'd like to
a
go
different
back to first.
experience.
It's also not what Megan was signing up for.
yes,
No.
that is 100% it.
Megan would not have signed up for 1v1
Yeah.
overseer versus one investigator, even if she
Yeah.
was controlling 2 or 3.
I do have to say it is significantly different. It's the same as Imperial Assault is different between first and second edition.
Yeah.
So I still want to pick up now. I have officially added it to like my watch list, looking for a cheap copy
Mhm.
of second edition because it is something that Megan and I do really like. The second edition, the app does do a lot to help. I would like to play it more
Doesn't-
often. I know
then-
Zach owns it.
Yeah.
Doesn't Zach own all of it?
I don't own all of it.
Okay.
After I bought it's
Most of it?
After I bought like the third expansion, and I hadn't touched it since I was.
First one.
Yeah, I was just like,
We need to
I
pump the brakes.
Yeah, just like luckily I bought the last expansion for Eldritch Horror, and I was like, please to God, let this be the last expansion for Eldritch Horror.
So another one. We want to play it more and just haven't.
Yes.
Yes. And then next up, Scythe. We reviewed on October 5th, 2016, which that's rapidly approaching the 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have not played, nor have I had any desire to play Scythe since then. Even with all the expansions, even with interviewing Jamie Stegmaier, no desire.
Well, I know it never
It never caught me. I've had zero desire to even remotely revisit it. If it came up in the right circumstances, I might play it again. I'd probably like.
You're in a desert island, and you're like, well, we have this
It's
table.
not quite that extreme, but yeah, like I would give it another chance. It's not one where it's like, oh, I actively will not play that again.
Yeah.
But I have no desire to. I'm not seeking it out.
I would play it again just to see what the new expansions add to it. But especially the Rise of Fenris one.
The new campaign
Yes.
one.
I'd be interested in seeing what that and the airships and all the brought, but
Yeah.
I haven't had that desire to play it. Yeah.
I own most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the airships and I didn't get Rise of Fenris. I still need to get the legendary box, a broken token insert, a legendary box broken token insert expansion, and then all of the aftermarket meeple source.
So you need to spend like $300 more and then you'll be ready to play.
And then I'll be good to go.
I like how all of us have like those things where we're like, spent way too much money on this game that we're just like, man, one of these days I'm finally going to get to play this again. And it's going to be great.
Yeah. I do have all of my board game collection under one roof now. So Scythe is something I would want to play, but I think we've always ended up playing it with like way too many people.
Yeah, it seems to be like anytime I've seen a game night, it's always been like 6 or like 5 or 6. And it's like
I want to play like a nice 4-player game.
Yeah.
I don't want to drag more people into it. And
that's one of the few problems with bringing a game that can fit that many people to game night is you're just like, you're getting ready to play and they're like, someone comes up, hey, do you have room for one more? I mean, technically yes.
That's when I'm like, how much do you know about this game? Oh, nothing. It just looks interesting. No, we're at max player count. Versus like, oh yeah, no, I know it plays 5. Oh yeah, but we're gonna just play with 4.
Yeah.
I want to also play more Scythe, but just have not.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yes.
The 5th game we have is The Networks. October 12th, 2016. So 2 years and 3 days ago from time of recording, not time of release. Of all of the ones on here, this is the one I feel like I've played the most since we reviewed it. It's the one I want to play the most on any given like moment. It has had a new expansion come out this year.
Yeah, I don't know if it's out. I know I picked up my Kickstarter copy at Gen Con, and I feel like they've started shipping for that one, but I've sort of not really paid attention to that once I actually got my shit.
It's like, who gives a shit about these other people? I got mine.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the Executives is the expansion.
And then the Teletime mini expansion, which adds a bunch of British shows.
Yeah.
So
And we played at Gen Con, but with none of the expansion
That is
stuff.
correct, because like 3 people had never played before
Yeah.
or something like that. So
Yeah, and I feel like I've played it fairly recently too, although I don't remember specifically when, but it was sometime this summer or early spring. I know I played it not this past Geekway, but the Geekway before that, which was also after the review.
yeah,
I'd gotten there early waiting for, I think it was just you and Paul on that trip, Zach.
yes, that is correct. The first time, yeah.
And I'd gotten in there like a day in advance, and I was there in the morning walking around, and I just saw some people with like a teacher wanted flag for networks, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll play networks. And
I will crush all of you.
Tried to teach you with what I remember from the review we did 6 months ago, because that was in like April of 17. Yeah, still really like the networks. I love the art style. I love the humor. Like, it's one that the humor has stood up. Like, it probably wouldn't if I played it all the time. It'd get a little stale, but I play it so sporadically that it's like, oh yes, I forgot about.
Well, and also anytime you introduce it to new people, you get to see like them laugh at it, and that makes it so like when you know a favorite comedy of yours, when you show it to somebody you're like, you enjoy it because you're watching
somebody else
enjoy it. Yeah.
You know, watching people play the guessing game of like, wait, what show is this actually based off of, and stuff like that. Yeah, still really like the networks.
Yeah,
for myself.
Same here.
Yeah, the only thing we haven't played with the expansions, but the only thing I remember is you need the executive rulebook next to the table at all times, because I don't think the iconography on the executives was super clear of what their powers were.
Yes, but
we haven't played that yet. But that was the only thing that comes off the top of my head.
Yeah, super excited to trying it out with the Teletime expansion, and I'm glad I'm glad that we had played it just a couple months ago. So
yeah,
and it's another one that every so often I'm like, man, I should bring it to game night, but it's always like, we got to play that game at game night. So
yep.
Yeah, that wraps up the look back of the fives. It will be, like I said, we're going to do this roughly every 5 to 6 weeks. It's going to probably be 6 or 7 for the next one, because the immediate next one is Terraforming Mars, which we reviewed October 19th, 2016. So just shy of 2 years. We recently did a whole episode look back on Terraforming Mars with some of the new expansions and things. So we're not going to really address that because I don't think we're going to get Prelude anytime soon.
That's correct, yeah.
Outposts.
Yeah, so...
Prelude was you mean the Outpost one, right?
That's the new one that's coming out, yeah.
And did somebody get Prelude? Oh, somebody probably got Prelude.
A bunch of people got,
okay.
like 3 people got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we might play Prelude soon, because that's the only one we haven't covered that's out.
We haven't covered it, but we've played with it, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, maybe if you fucking listen to the Gen Con shit when we talked about it. No,
yeah,
100%.
it's definitely 100% on the Gen Con shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought you might have talked about it outside of Gen Con too. But, so we aren't quite sure how we're going to do this. We'll leave it up to you, the listeners. If any of you have particularly strong feelings, then you can let us know through any of our normal contact methods that will be at the end of the show. We're not going to go through them all right now.
Emails.
Yeah. Would you prefer these as like a 1-to-1, like, 2 years ago we reviewed this game, here's a quick little blurb? Or would you like more of a segment like this where we wait and cover a few of them at once? Either way, it won't ever be every week, because we're not going to revisit discussions. We're not going to revisit,
top
some of
10s,
top 10s or things like that.
We'll revisit the top 10 when we revisit the top 10.
Exactly.
When we come back to that top 10 somewhere way down the line. But for actual reviews, do you want them just, one at a time here and there scattered in some episodes? Or do you want them more scattered, but as a more lengthy segment of, here's like 4 or 5 that we reviewed roughly 2 years ago. Here's our thoughts on multiple ones. Let us know what you think. If nobody lets us know, then we'll just decide ourselves, which will likely default to the blocks in that case. But if anybody really wants them as just a a much shorter one-off, let us know, and we can maybe go that route.
And then obviously if we do the weekly-esque one, so just try and get CJ to make some weird noise for it. It's like Doctor Who-esque TARDIS noise of,
and then ends with that body thump at the end of. Is it just the Machine? Pink Floyd. Welcome to the Machine. The body thump at the end.
I don't know that I've ever noticed the body thump at the end of Welcome to the Machine.
Yeah, it sounds like a mechanical clunk, but it also could be a body hitting the floor.
Huh?
Yeah. After like the party noises.
Oh, clearly I need to listen to Welcome to the Machine again.
Jesus Christ.
What? I just don't remember one little bit at the very end of a song.
How dare you?
Right? I'm such a piece of shit.
This is
Well-
why I didn't say anything.
The best thing about your TARDIS thing is, from my perspective, you could do literally any music and I wouldn't know the
I would
difference.
have no idea.
Mhm.
Because I've never watched a solid episode of Doctor Who. I have no idea what sound the TARDIS makes. But yeah, so let us know, and we'll do this in some way, shape, or form on a more regular basis.
Yep.
And now that this episode is going way, way, way long, we are finally over to news and Kickstarters.
First up in news, Cryptozooic is announcing 2 new card games using a new card system, which is the Gryphon card game system. Zach, you remember there was some other system they had?
The Cerberus engine.
Cerberus engine. That's what it was.
That's where all of their deck building games, like the Rick and Morty one, the DC deck builder,
okay.
Street Fighter deck builder, all those.
Gotcha. So a new system,
Mhm.
Gryphon system, coming with a Rick and Morty game.
Look who's purging now.
It looks like it's just going to be
So the entire Gryphon engine is 2 to 4 players, deck of 10 cards. You draw a hand of 3, play 1 simultaneously. The Dice Tower article needs somebody to edit it because the sentence literally reads this: each round, players will select 1 card from their hand to play simultaneously with the others win the round.
Yeah.
Dice Tower needs an editor. But
It's a new engine for them.
yeah,
New card engine.
so
So,
somehow those cards will win. Probably that's where the change in
Mhm.
different games will come.
yeah, it's like they have 10, like you said, the 10 card player decks. There are weakness cards, festival cards, which for the Challenge of the Super Friends card game, they're called objective cards in that one. So we'll see how it actually works.
seems like a new system to throw whatever theme you want on, and
Oh, 100%. Yep. that's-
mechanically it works.
Yep.
The Super Friends is cool because it's definitely the
this
old Super Friends
yeah,
cartoon.
exactly.
Yeah, and same thing. It's 4 10-player decks, 32 objective cards, and 10 challenge cards.
Yep.
So same number of cards.
Mhm.
They're just and festival cards, objective cards, challenge cards, weakness cards. Slight changes in what each deck does.
Yep.
Basically.
It's just the new fast-paced, easy-to-learn card game. So
Yeah. 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in about 25 minutes for both of them. They're available for pre-order and should be in game stores March 2019. And then they are planning on using this system in more games in the future.
unsurprising.
So, yeah,
Throw that license on there. Pump them games out.
Oh yeah.
correct.
Next up in news, Lords of Vegas is going to Z-Man Games.
Yep. So this is formerly a Mayfair game that Z-Man has picked up. They are going to continue to sell the existing Mayfair game stock for the base game and the Up expansion. And then they are also going to be pushing out the Underworld expansion that had been previously announced by Mayfair, but not yet released. So that will actually be coming out now through Z-Man. And Vegas and Up are both available right now through the Z-Man website and hopefully at your local retailer. And Underworld is still in last stages of development, but it is coming.
I've wanted to play this game.
Same. I've heard a lot of really good things about Lords of Vegas.
The problem is that I played a Vegas-ish style game, but it was on a like giant like Microsoft Surface-esque table. And this was at Conclave of Gamers like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
And it looked different than the art because it was like, supposed to be on the computer sort of thing. So I don't know. I don't remember which one it was. So
Okay.
I might have played this one before, but I don't know if I have.
Okay.
There might be another casino themed game that I'm thinking of instead. But I remember a lot of people. I feel like I saw a decent amount of people really liking this one, with the expansion Up, and the Underworld one adds like mobsters and stuff, which is
Yeah, it adds
Seems pretty
characters,
cool.
which was apparently one of the designers talked about that when they first started designing it, it had more of an organized crime feel. But then as they developed it, that kind of went away, and some
Right.
characters kind of fell off. And then they found a way to add them into the expansion. So yeah, Lords of Vegas and new expansions for it. coming soon from Z-Man Games.
Next up in news, Fog of Love is getting inclusive.
More inclusive.
Yes.
Even more inclusive.
Yeah.
So the one of the things just came out fairly recently. I don't remember what day it was specifically. Was National Coming Out Day.
Mm-hmm.
Which was awesome. I saw a bunch of people who I already knew were LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, came out.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting to see, like them actually really identify what they fall under.
Yes.
And how they identify, which is cool. I like knowing more about my friends.
Yeah.
And in celebration of that and in honor of that day, Fog of Love announced they were going to be releasing some new covers that reflect LGBT relationships.
Yeah. Because that was already in the game that you could play as a man or a woman, either one of you. But some of the cards were still like sort of awkwardly worded for those relationships.
Yeah.
Um,
Fairly heteronormative.
Exactly. Yes. Which I do like that the guy says, because he was coming at it from, a straight male point of view, there are definitely things that like you just wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
And so they started working with Nikki Valance, who, Eldritch Horror, Legacy of Dragonholt, used to work for Fantasy Flight.
Yes.
Brought her on board because she is big in that community too, and helped with the covers and expand a mini sort of expansion to just help or to just sort of focus on some of those relationships.
Yeah. The example they point out in this article is a story beat that was in the original scenario where one of the two had to become pregnant to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They've now changed that to where you don't have to have somebody become pregnant.
You can do adoption. Yeah.
Yeah. That there's multiple ways that multiple different couples can have kids be introduced to the couple.
Yes.
They added 3 new scenes, they say, that support expression of attraction and gender in different ways, that are better consideration of polyamorous relationships, asexual preferences. Again, just kind of moving away from that very traditional binary heteronormative depiction.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah, especially because that like the game is just about relationships.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then they have different ways of trying to work to get those kinds of things into people who already own the base game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want the base game to more accurately reflect your experiences with love and relationships, they're working on getting that out there. But for now, they have the 2 new editions.
Yep.
With the new box covers, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's
and
an expansion coming as well.
Well, yeah, that's that. Yeah. Which is sort of what like it's not a big expansion. It's just some new things and then rewording of other ones.
Well, and then they are working on an LGBT focused expansion.
Yes.
Yes.
That will focus on telling stories about queer relationships, and will do more with like self-discovery, transition, and non-sexual, non-romantic, intimate relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, and that should launch sometime in the first quarter of 2019, following the release of 3 previously Kickstarter-only scenarios that will be coming out next month.
Yeah,
so, a bunch of new stuff for Fog of Love.
No, yeah, Paul and I played this one at Geekway, and I know I think we both really liked it.
Yeah,
and
that was while we were playing that deck builder.
Yes,
Jeff.
Aeon's End.
Aeon's
They're
End.
playing right next to it. Yeah,
Yes.
And so I've been meaning to pick this up. So
Surprisingly big box.
yeah,
yes,
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah,
and now even more.
So
yeah,
That's it for
definitely,
news.
major props to them.
Now that is it for news.
That is it. What about now, Jeff? Is it still that it?
Still done with news.
Still done with news. All right.
Wait.
Breaking news. We're done with news.
Done.
Which brings up Kickstarters, if I'm not mistaken.
As you
Space
often
time
are.
continuing,
Unlike
still
yeah,
continuing.
yeah. And for once, you're right.
First up in Kickstarters is a Level 7 Omega Protocol 2nd Edition. Not quite funded yet, but I'd give it 30 minutes. 82,000 of its $100,000 goal, 927 backers, with about 2 weeks left to go. And you can pledge this one for the 2nd edition bits for $20, or you can get the whole shebang for $125.
Yes. So for those of you who aren't aware, Level 7 is a tactical mini board game.
Level 7 Omega Protocol.
Yes.
Just only because there is at least one other Level 7 game called Level 7 Lockdown, which is garbage.
Oh.
So I just want to make sure.
Level 7 Omega Protocol.
Yeah.
Tactical minis board game for 2 to 6 players that You are high-tech commandos hunting down aliens that have gotten out in a secret government lab, basically. It was first released back in 2016, back when we were starting the show.
And
Or
apparently,
no, sorry,
2013.
2013.
and
yeah.
apparently it was just Kickstarter only, and it's never been reprinted or something crazy.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Or it hasn't been reprinted in
it
a
just
while.
hasn't been reprinted in a while.
Okay.
It's been out of print since
Mhm.
2016.
Yes.
Ah.
It was-
And
It was
Over-
it was in Tom Bassel's like top 10 games, top 10 sci-fi games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was
It-
a lot of people really liked it when it came out.
apparently Privateer Press's best-selling game ever, and regularly going for hundreds of dollars on the aftermarket. So they were like, hey, it's time to bring this back. They are not, with this new edition, adding any new stretch goals or add-ons. This is a very straightforward, streamlined, just second edition.
They have just bonus content in here, but at the what you saw at the beginning is what it's what it's going to be.
It will also include their Extreme Prejudice expansion that had previously been out.
Yes.
So Level 7 is one of the first games to really do the 1v all, which is why they call it semi-co-op, which, unless I'm very mistaken, which I could be, it's happened.
Never.
Once or twice, I think. Once in a blue moon.
So there's one player plays the role of those aliens who are free,
Mhm.
and they're moving around.
I do
They're-
like their
they're
line.
free.
They're
I like-
free.
I like their free.
They were captured.
No, I know, but you're just the way that they're free. They're free aliens.
Dude, I take the side of the aliens, man.
I do like their line here, ensuring the human intruders know true terror before they meet their grisly fate.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So one player takes on the role of the aliens. Everybody else is taking on the role of the commandos, trying to hunt those aliens down. And that continues with this one. They really haven't changed any of that gameplay stuff. Like I said, there's no real add-ons or anything. There are some new cards, 3 new room cards, 4 new investigate cards, 9 alternate enemy stat cards, and 17 kit cards, and an exclusive white die because,
It's exclusive.
yeah, you need a white die. It is also going to include a lot of clarifications, updated rules, and a new line of sight system based on all of the years and years of player feedback for this game. So it's not going to drastically change, but they are going to tweak it enough to really justify this new edition coming out.
Right. Yeah. And also just people
Yeah.
have wanted the game for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So
Whole bunch of minis and things because it's a tactical minis game. So of course there's going to be minis, aliens, commandos, all of that.
for the longest time, it was like, well, if you want to play Aliens, this is your best bet. So like the movie Aliens.
Yes. Yeah. Whole bunch of cool stuff.
Mhm.
I've heard really good things about this. Obviously, I mean, the fact it's selling years later for hundreds of dollars on the aftermarket means that for this type of game, it's certainly a good example of it. It was one of the original, like I said, 1v-alls. So, yeah.
Be aware shipping is like $20+,
11 to 20 for continental US.
for the just game by itself. But if you're going in all way for that big $125 one, it's $20,
Yeah,
$25.
fully loaded, 20 to 25. Yeah.
Money.
35 to 50 if you're one of our Aussie fans. So
That's not, I mean, honestly, like 20 to 50, that's not much.
it's only
stuff.
double. They're only
Yeah.
doubling the shipping.
Exactly.
That's level 7.
Indeed.
Omega Protocol.
Yes.
Second edition.
Yes. Up next in Kickstarter is Dreams of Tomorrow. Not quite funded, 5,000 of its $9,000 goal, 194 backers, but about 3 weeks left to go, and you can pledge this one for $22.
So, Dreams of Tomorrow is a short little 45-minute set collection game for 1 to 6 players, where essentially, shocking, people fucked up and ruined the future.
Fucking future people.
And so humanity is on the brink, and everybody in the future said, hey, the best way to fix this isn't to fix it, it's to stop it from ever happening. We're going to
Yeah.
develop time
Make it-
travel.
Make it past people's problems,
Yeah.
and then our future will just be fixed, and then we won't have to do anything.
Well, I like to think about it. It is so fucked up,
Uh-huh.
and that we have so fucked the future that it's actually easier to develop time travel than to fix what we fucked up.
Yeah.
But so they find a
But
way
it's like
to
a different type of time travel where you're just sending dreams.
yeah, you're affecting the dreams of people in the past
Dream engineers.
to inspire them to just be better in the future. It's like hopes and prayers. So you're going to be pulling cards from the Dreamscape.
It is a competitive set collection game.
Yes. You're going to be pulling these dream cards from the Dreamscape, and you can either use their abilities on them to help you immediately, or kind of put them all together into a dream sequence that you can send back to the past. Each turn, you're going to be changing action spaces around and moving to the different spaces to take them. It uses kind of a rondelle, but it's a rondelle that you can change where actions are positioned. So the board will be constantly changing, which keeps people interested. And then depending on how you move around through it, you're going to potentially, your actions could be giving resources to your opponents. So it gives them a reason to care about what you're doing, gives you reason to be cautious about what you do so you're not helping them too much. And yeah, just a very flux changey type game. They also have two different variants that you can play with, a Pleasant Night and a Troubled Night version. Pleasant Night, players are the only ones who make changes to the action spaces. Troubled Night, there is a nightmare that moves around and can move action spaces and take actions and move them outside of your reach. So a whole bunch of different things that can happen in it. The dream cards are big tarot-sized cards with actually really pretty art. I like the art style a whole lot on this one.
I'm liking the color scheme on it.
Yeah. Kind of a cool mix of like dreamlike, but also futuristic, which is kind of cool. Then there's consciousness fragment cards, player boards, and then meeples and cubes that you're going to be moving around and playing.
Yep, and one nightmare, which is a horse.
Yes, the nightmare.
Exactly, yeah.
Basically, the way the game plays is on your turn, you move around the collective consciousness, which is the set of 8 action spaces, and you take the action that you end up landing on. You can move 1 to 3 spaces for free, or pay extra resources to move more spaces. 4 resource action spaces, I'll give a large amount of resources and give the player who takes it a large amount of a specific resource, gives everybody else a smaller amount of those resources. The 4 dream spaces allow you to take actions concerning dreams. Catching dream space lets you catch a dream from the dreamscape. Weave a dream allows you to take a dream from your dream catcher and weave it into your sequence. And you have to the dream sequence is the only part of it that will actually score points at the end of the game. Then there's 2 different activate dream spaces that allows you to use an ability that's at the end of your dream sequence or from a dream in your dream capture. So you do a lot of different things, moving those dreams around and building your sequence or using the abilities of the dream cards. Yeah, and then all those, there's all the different dream action ability, the dream abilities, all those. There's a whole bunch of different ones. So I'm not going to go into all of them. Yeah, whole lot of different things that go on and move things around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looks
interesting.
Looks pretty cool. We'll have a solo mode using robot players. They've got like 3 different versions of a robot player that you can play against, stuff like that. Print and play is available. Weirddraft.games. Yeah, looks pretty cool.
That's Dreams of Tomorrow. Last up in Kickstarter is Heroes of Tenefyr. Very well funded, 27,000 of its $6,000 goal, 843 backers, and a little bit less than a week to pledge this one for $20.
Yeah. So this is a cooperative deck building game for 1 to 4 players that uses some push your luck to kind of change the traditional way of deck building. Jeff, you being the resident deck building fan, we're a little bit interested in this one.
Yeah.
What's going on with it?
So you start off with the same 12 cards in your deck. They're like 1 power or 0 power, I believe. You draw 3, and if you don't like your... and then you have a class, and you put that one in there, so you'll have 13 cards. And if you don't like your cards, you can just discard them and draw another 3. But if you ever get to the bottom of your deck, you have to rest to reshuffle your discard pile. But since you're a party of 4 heroes in dungeons, Everyone has to rest at the same time, so you don't
Ooh.
want to burn through everything at first, or you're going to be like starting to like 3-on-1 or 2-on-1 these various monsters until everyone can rest. There's a variety of dungeons sort of set out at the beginning of the game that will have various monsters. When you defeat the monster, that's actually the card that will flip. It's got loot on the bottom of it, and then that will go into your deck. So as you defeat the monsters, those are the cards that you kind of add in. Variety of different bosses in the game. That's kind of your timer. So the boss is kind of getting closer and closer. And the more you rest, the closer that boss could possibly get to you. So you want to be as efficient as possible with your cards. It's 4 different unique bosses with like 16 boss cards. Reminds me a little bit of like Aeon's End, where you're fighting all the little monsters and stuff, and then like you have to fight the boss at the end.
Okay.
And all the monsters will have a variety of powers and actions and stuff on them that you'll need to try and that will make you discard cards from your hand or discard cards from your deck. And it's very similar to most deck builders, where that order of what you're trying to play out of your hand will matter. Like, you'll play the card that goes last to discard a card out of your hand, but you have nothing left in your hand, so you don't have to discard anything. And then there's like monster decks and things like that. Seems like pretty easy, basic, about an hour long to run through all the dungeon decks and fight off the end boss there. It says about 60 minutes, which might be a little long for this kind of game.
Right.
Yeah. But it has free print and play, has the full rule book on there, which is always appreciated.
Indeed.
Here's a Tenefyr. They have an interesting video. It's all a bard song.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of dig the art style. It's a little all over the place. The box cover art doesn't super match like the card art. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think it looks pretty cool.
Can't go too wrong for a $20 cooperative deck building game.
True. Yeah, that's Heroes of Tenefyr.
And that's it for Kickstarters.
That is indeed it for Kickstarters. Well, that wraps up most all of the episode. We have a few things for listener feedback stuff. No emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
On this episode.
On this particular episode, because it is long. We had...
So I just want to say thanks to everybody for knowing that this was going to be a long one. So
yes,
not
thank you,
us
everyone.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, where were you last week when it was short? What the hell? There were some responses to some BGG threads. Zach, do you have those pulled up? and
Yes, I
ready to
do.
go?
So the first one, this is from our competitive player interaction episode, our discussion. This is from Jeff. Jeff Calgary.
Yes.
Calgary Jeff. Canadian Jeff.
Yes. I recently played Western Legends, which is a game that is completely dependent on direct player interaction. You're starting fights with other players to duel, rob, to get on the wanted track, or rest if they're wanted and you're a marshal. It's also a game where you'll have to keep an eye on the board state and who is in the lead, and the potentially pile on the leader, or better yet, convince everyone else to pile on the leader while you take the lead from them. However, in the various discussions on Western Legends BGG thread support this, so the game is highly group dependent, and if players are not willing to get in each other's faces, it's probably going to fall flat. I'd say it's a lot like Game of Thrones, where your best bet is to stay in the victory point pack and make a big move for the win. 15/20/25 legendary points trigger the last round when the opportunity presents itself. If you just try and set a point generating engine / routine of actions, it's probably going to feel like a boring pick up and deliver while you paint a big old target on your back. Have you guys had a chance to try this yet? I have a strong feeling that I would agree that Adrian will not love this one.
I don't know. Have either of you played it?
No, but I've seen it, and I feel like it would not be your thing. But I've wanted to try it.
I know
Sandbox tabletop adventure is
I know
how it's described.
They played it on South Park. Which is 100% true. It was on an episode of South Park.
It was on an episode of South Park. And I know Katie from Katie's Game Corner had been doing a lot with it.
Yes.
Back when it was going through Kickstarter and kind of getting out there.
It totally seems a game that would live or die based on the group.
Yeah. Which a lot of those heavy player interaction games are that way.
Yeah.
Is this game just generally really expensive as well? I'm seeing it for $100+.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably fairly expensive. It also might be a little bit of it's in between being widely available and
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
This was originally a Kickstarter,
okay.
so.
Yeah. So, but no, none of us have played it. And I don't know anybody with it, so I don't know if we'll get a chance to play it anytime soon. But I don't know. There's other games that use a lot of that heavy player interaction that I do like. It's just some of them I definitely don't.
It's also not out until the 27th.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not officially out. Yep. Okay, cool.
So these next two are from our brass review. This first one is from David. He says, money does not convert to victory points in Birmingham. That's only used in the introductory game. That is why you're allowed to take a loan in the last few rounds, which we also got a Twitter.
Because I'm going to interrupt, because then on Twitter, Vince had messaged and said, hey, listening to your brass review, one correction. You do not get points for leftover money at the end of the game in Birmingham. So taking 2 loans in the last round doesn't give you 6 points. Leftover money is only used for the second tiebreaker. So first of all, this was the first time that we've really had direct, like, hey, you fucking explain shit wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, I just trusted that Adrian was right on that, and he just continues.
Well, so this, God damn you, Zach.
Yeah, you just have to blame yourself.
I know, I do. I'm sorry, everybody, that I let Adrian get away with that.
This is also, though, a great example of something we've talked about in the past that can be a problem.
Assumptions.
When you play a lot of games and something plays very similarly, you assume they play very similarly, except for where they don't. And you miss those little subtle differies. And that was this, like...
Luckily, I don't think it affected any of our games.
No.
I was looking back through the scores that I recorded.
No one was within 1 or 2 points at any point.
There was one, it was between Adrian and Paul, and I think they were close. But
I was ahead of Paul, and then we scored money, and I was just further ahead of Paul.
Yes.
So it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, it never actually made a difference in our game scoring it that way.
No one ever did I'm going to take 60 money and get 6 points.
Because it was always easy, like you're always getting at least as much many points by doing building connections.
Yeah.
So,
which my assumption, there's that famous mistake making assumptions, was that they allowed you to take the loans later in this one, not because they didn't count as points anymore, but because that 2 rail action now cost a beer. So maybe there wasn't as many viable last turn, like, oh, I'll just do this to score points. And so this was a way to let you still, like, do something for points. Apparently that's not true.
Yep.
So that's what I get for making assumptions.
Yeah, you make an ass out of you and Jeff.
And that's what you get for assuming that I knew what I was talking about. I know. Making an ass out of you and Jeff.
Yep. All right. This next one is from Andrew. I've only played Lancashire. If Zach could get over his aversion for network building, I think he'd find that the cards aren't as luck dependent. Do you want to address this or just...
I think you said your aversion to network building isn't because the cards are too random. It's just that you don't like network building.
That is, yes. And I had more of a problem with it
in Birmingham
because I felt like it was...
more network dependent.
It was more network dependent.
But card-wise, I think we all agreed it was like...
I probably mentioned the fact that you can get card fucked because I literally watched Jeff get card fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally
but I never in my games I never had even the worst cards I had, I was still able to figure out something to do.
Even when I had a hand that was almost all industry cards, I still felt like I could do things.
Yes. But yeah, it was just at that point where it was like Jeff, like he couldn't build out his network and he only had those industry, like it was a rare case, but I wanted to make sure people knew that it's drawn cards, it can happen.
I may have been able to overbuild. I'm not sure. So I had iron cards. If I don't remember if I had any iron out. I could have overbuild one of my empty iron ones.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if I even could build any iron in the first place.
And then if it would have actually done anything for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He continues. Building canals or rails is good for points, but it's also good for giving you more options for using the industry cards and not just depending on the city cards. After I figured that out, I've still had a few instances where I didn't have the right card for something, but it doesn't happen as often now, which we sort of just mentioned.
It was my first game as well.
Exactly, yeah. I also wouldn't say that overbuilding is just a desperation move in Lancashire. It's a good strategy that can be used for a very specific opportunity. If there's only a few iron left in the market and none are on the board, use your first action to develop and thus use the last of the available iron and your second action to build a higher level iron mill over an opponent's. The iron that comes out in your building will immediately sold to the market. The tile will flip, income bumps up, and you enjoy a nice victory point swing. This is especially useful when the board is almost built out towards the end of the game and iron mill spots are hard to come by.
Yeah,
But it never.
that's never even been close to happening
That's
in
true.
our games. So that's the thing. Like, yes, if you can ever overbuild an opponent's iron or coal
Coal, yeah.
resource, fuck yes, do that.
But we-
100%. I agree. It is an absolute brilliant strategic move
Mhm.
when the opportunity presents to overbuild someone else's. But overbuilding your own, especially in Lancashire where things are consistently worth similar points,
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like you're gaining a lot of points overbuilding a level 2 iron of your own with a level 3 iron of your own.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I really
Iron never got close to.
no,
ever
yeah, that was it.
running
Is
out
that
either.
yes, you did say a specific example of something, but that example never
never
came close to
coming
us.
up in ours.
The closest one we ever had was one with coal, but
But it was
we
like
had to engineer it that way.
it was like, Jeff, if you build 4 railroads on your turn,
It was 2.
I build but
Two,
it
if
was
I do 2 rail and Zach does 2 rail, then you get to overbuild.
Yeah.
And at no point would we ever let that happen.
exactly. It required multiple people to knowingly make the decision to like set somebody else up for that move.
Exactly, yeah.
And especially as cutthroat as we all play, it's like, of course, if the chance to overbuild one of the other players happens, we're going to take it.
Mhm.
It's
So-
never like, oops, we ran out of coal. It's like we know that coal is about to
Yes.
run out.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just fucking cut off our own nose to spite our face
Oh,
to
yeah.
make sure that coal doesn't run out.
Yep.
Well, and I feel like
Pass.
a lot of our games were tight enough financially that if coal or iron was getting low, it was like, well, shit, I'm going to build this now to refill that market and
exactly.
get the extra money. And
when it was
flip my
like
tile.
when it was half empty, so it never even had a chance to get before that. So
Yeah, the only way I could see
or
it
below
really
that, yeah.
getting empty is if through a weird turn of events late game there just weren't the spots.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted to overbuild their own level 2s, and then the market eventually ran out. Like, I mean, I could see it happening, and I agree it'd be a great thing to do, but I don't know. Didn't really ever come up in our games.
Yep.
So, right on.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it for BGG and Twitter
Mhm.
feedback, since I threw in that little follow-up on the Birmingham as well.
Yes, he did.
We did have a new tidbit from Paulo's Corner over on YouTube. Paulo says, great review, guys. Also referring to Brass. I played Old Brass once and was clueless on what to do for most of the game. And played Birmingham recently and enjoyed that a lot more. Still, the luck of the draw is big enough to bother me in such a heavy game. / like skeptical face, I guess, or
Mhm.
disappointed face. I don't know what that
Sideways
actually-
face? What do you say?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that, like I said, I having played it a few times, and I could see, especially early, like if it's one of your first few plays, not seeing the different ways you can kind of manipulate the cards that you have, so you feel like you're really draw fucked or card fucked.
Mhm.
But I think as you play more, you start to realize ways in which you can mitigate that by like, all right, so I didn't get cards that let me build right now. I'm going to work on my network, or I'm going to develop, or I'm going to do other things
Mhm.
that put me in position for later when I do have the cards that I can use.
But as much as you can do, it's still like at the start of your turn or the start of the game. If you have cards that are all down south, you're not going to be like, well, I'd rather build up north, so I'm gonna fuck myself over to try and build up there.
yeah,
So it's obviously like that was always one thing that sort of interested me that for a heavy game that this is in the top 10 that it still had, it was mainly based around cards.
yeah.
But if you if you were coming from Food Chain Magnet or 18X, 18XX or some of those other
Where
ones,
there's like no fucking randomness.
no, that it's your game is literally what you make out of it.
Yeah.
Your decisions, that having any sort of thing that's restricting your choices can be like, oh, I don't like this at all. So yeah.
Which this will come up a little bit in the Q&A episode because
Mhm.
somebody asked a little bit about tastes in
Yes.
that one a little bit. I find that I kind of go back and forth between the two heavy games. I like some that have no randomness to where it's like purely can I actually like outplan everybody else and outplay everybody else. But I do like sometimes a game like Brass where it's like there's enough where the randomness doesn't super fuck me like dice regularly
yeah.
super fuck me. But I can plan and kind of how can I overcome the difficulties that the randomness
Mhm.
throws in there.
Yes, that's
So-
that's what I like a lot about randomness is that overcoming the shit that I have.
So,
So-
in the right heavy games with the randomness just right, which Brass does for me,
Yeah.
that works great.
Mhm.
So that concludes all of the listener feedback.
Mhm.
So we're done with it. Done with listener feedback.
Yep.
Yeah. thanks everybody who contributed listener feedback, who followed up with us, who asked, sent us emails and things like that. Thanks for the 2 people on BGG and on Twitter there who corrected us for a very clear rules mistake.
Yes.
I actually do like to hear
Oh, 100%.
that kind of
yes.
stuff. It's good to hear like, oh shit, we missed something very simple
Mhm.
in there. And then that way we can also tell everybody else who was like maybe going to take our word for it. And this way we don't fuck anybody else up by them late. Oh, my high game guy said to play it this way.
Yeah, but this does mean we did get one thing wrong, so all of our reviews are null now.
Now suspect.
Yep.
Yeah. Just throw them in the trash.
Yep.
I mean, maybe we should have already done that.
Literally print out transcripts of our entire things and then throw that in the trash.
Sure. Be sure to tune in on Friday when we do our 3rd Put to the Question episode, where we asked all of you to throw us a bunch of questions, and several of you did, and so we got a bunch of questions, some board game related, some not. We'll dive into and just kind of have some fun here with it. Before that, just a little bit of a heads up for those of you who have your podcast listening devices set to just auto-download shit. On Thursday, the first episode of Mile High Dungeon Delvers, the RPG podcast that I'm releasing, is going to be coming out initially on the Mile High Game Guys feed. I'm going to do the first few episodes from there on the Mile High Game Guys feed, just so some of you who are interested in it get it right away, and so I can, shuffle it off to hopefully some willing ears and build a fan base. Then eventually we'll be moving to its own feed. So if you like it and you want to keep listening to it, you'll need to switch feeds eventually. But the first few episodes will be here on the Mile High Game Guys feed, including this Thursday. The first episode of it will be out. So yeah.
It does not include Jeff or I.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify with that.
If you want to hear Adrian and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian
and his other friends.
And Wes, who's been on the show
Mhm.
and is regularly mentioned on the show. Bob, who has not been on the show, but has been mentioned several times.
And was going to be on the Everdell one, but
and
then
was supposed to be on Everdell, but that didn't work out. And then Allison, Clue, and Leander, who we have mentioned, I think, occasionally for some of them, depending on when they're regulars in our game group. At game
We built
night.
the best castle
Yeah.
this last week.
You and Leander.
Yes.
We built a very outdoorsy castle.
So regulars in our game group who all really like D&D, and so we're all doing this Mile High Dungeon Delver stuff. We're recording episode 3 this upcoming Saturday, so it's coming along, getting some good episodes. I was listening.
How is it going to be released? I don't know if you mentioned it. Is it going to be every other week or
so? Because October got away from me a little bit. We're sitting here on the 15th recording this.
It got away from you, but somehow you were right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, that's how it got away from me. So the first episode for Mile High Dungeon Delvers we meant to release at the beginning of the month. Typically, it is going to be an every other week show. And probably Thursdays. When it moves to its own feed, we might move that around. We might do like a Monday or something. Here on the MHGG feed for the first few episodes, it will be Thursday releases. We'll release this Thursday, episode 1. We will release next Thursday, episode 2, both of which have already been recorded. Saturday, we're recording episode 3, which is going to be the spooky Halloween episode. That's going to come out the Thursday following Halloween. After that,
Just in time.
Yep.
Just in time. After that, we will be moving to every other week for main episodes. There's 2 prequel episodes that were on really, really bad mics, but have really awesome backstory that after all 6 of us listened to them a couple times, and we're like, do we release them? Do we not? And I went, well, shit, I released a bunch of terrible audio on the initial Mile High Game Guys episodes that were supposed to be episode 0s that never hit the light of air.
Yep. And so you're not learning anything.
No, I'm doubling down on my mistakes.
We're going to double down on that Wayback Machine.
Yep. So the audio quality on them isn't great. At one point, you can super hear pretzels being eaten. Like somebody thought they could just eat them. The mics were Omnis, so they were just picking up everything. So
was this the one where you said you tried to record with 6 Omnis?
It was 6 Omnis, yes. 6 omnidirectional microphones, cheap omnidirectional microphones scattered around the table.
So it heard everything.
And it was in the old studio when we were moving out, and so things were getting moved out, and it was getting echoey on our good mics, let alone the cheap Omnis. So it's not the best audio quality, but the 2 episodes just have great backstory and great, they make good episode 0 prequels. So episode 1 will come out, everybody will be like, wait, what's even happening? Because it just kind of picks up in the story, and then there will be some prequel episodes with bad audio that will fill in some of that missing details.
Gotcha.
yes, look for those starting to release this week.
Okay.
Yeah. And that catches everything up, I think. So we're going to get out of here. If you want to get a hold of us, you can always send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
And I'm Jeff_MHGG.
We have Facebook and Instagram /MileHighGameGuys. We have a website, milehighgameguys.com, with links to a whole bunch of different stuff, including our BGG guild, guild number 2731, where there are awesome episode posts where you can leave feedback or questions for the episode. It's where we do our Q&A posts, things like that. Go join the guild. It has links to our Slack channel, where we are regularly chit-chatting about ridiculous stuff. The sports channel is just currently a massive bash the Broncos and by association Adrian thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not in #sports.
Yeah. Video game channel where, people are talking about video games, and not any of the video games I play, but yeah.
But good ones, yeah.
It's a whole bunch of different stuff going on the Slack. Feel free to join over there. And then there is a link to our Patreon in case you want to support us financially, which we always appreciate, which is also patreon.com/milehighgameguys. So go check out any and or all of that you want to. Get in touch with us. Let us know what you're thinking, what you like, what you don't like, whether you want those look back episodes to be a group of games, single games, things like that. Give us feedback. Let us know what we can be doing better, and tell us how everything else we're doing is completely wrong. And it'll be a lot of fun. So this Wednesday episode, as we mentioned at the start, is sponsored by our awesome sponsors, Gray Fox Games, whose newest game, Reavers of Midgard, will be hitting Kickstarter in like 2 weeks, November 1st. So be sure to set your calendars, start hitting F5 now. Just be ready to go for some Reavers of Midgard. If you like Champions of Midgard and you're looking forward to some more Viking worker placement awesomeness. So
With some dice. Resource dice, raiding villages, raiding keeps,
killing monsters,
recruiting Reavers,
Chewing bubblegum.
all of that.
a lot of bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta recruit Reavers.
Yep. That's how the movie goes.
I heard that.
Jeff, do you have a prepared statement regarding our sponsorship?
Of course I do. Gray Fox Games, quality games cleverly crafted. Also, he who controls the battlefield controls history.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
Right on. That wraps everything up. It's been a long one. You had a short one last week. You had a long one this week. You never know what you're going to get with us.
Nope.
It's going to be
Punch in,
ridiculous.
Punch out. Punch in, punch out.
But hopefully you've enjoyed it. And like I said, look forward to the first episode of Mile High Dungeon Delvers Thursday and the Mile High Game Guys Put to the Question on Friday. So a whole big week full of just the most podcast.
Yep.
So.
God, we're becoming more most podcasts.
Yes.
By an incredible amount.
Thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you have super enjoyed the show. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Mr. Jeff Body. It's Mr. Peabody had the Wayback Machine.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's deep cut.
Deep cut.
Okay. Bye.
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 So is it time to move on to news and Kickstarter, Adrian?
Yes? No? Oh.
Jesus Christ.
I see what you're saying. I thought you had something creative to transition into.
You put the ball on the tee.
Yeah.
All you had to do was swing. Couldn't even get that far.
Do you want me to try that again?
No, because I don't like that transition at all.
Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.